Hello, and welcome back to Sharing a Chapter a Day. This is Do, Ra, me, and today I will be reading Chapter 143 of Engagement in Peril by Dara, Odoe, Sok. Chapter 143 is titled Experiencing Amsterdam. Amsterdam, Netherlands, November 16 to November 17, 2007. The next morning, Delilah and I awoke in each other's embrace, took small kisses at each other all over, and then mouthed each other with our fishy odor breath, and snuggled before freshening up for the day's event. After gathering and cleaning up ourselves, we went downstairs to have breakfast with my uncle, his wife, and kids. While eating as a family at the dining table that morning, we discussed our plans to go with Shin and Chia to Amsterdam for the night and then onward to Paris, France to spend several days in the self-proclaimed City of Love. My uncle laughed after hearing that comment. He had said that there's nothing loving about Paris. It's really crowded, driving is terrible, and the French are really obnoxious. He goes on to telling and detailing to us that the French aren't as hospitable as they are portrayed. Well, he laughed, and he had also mentioned that there's some good stuff out there to see there too. He also warned us to be careful in Amsterdam, since practically everything there is legal. He told us not to get into too much trouble there while he laughed and that morning at our expenses. The nice breakfast was well prepared by my uncle's wife. Before my uncle and aunt went to work, they asked us if we had enough money. I told them we do, and we hugged and thanked them, and told us to enjoy ourselves and there in Amsterdam and Paris, and to call them when we get to each place to let them know that we have arrived safely. They left their home that morning, and we parted ways for the next few days. That afternoon, Jin and Gia came to my uncle's home and picked us up for our trip with them to Amsterdam. Jin had to go to Amsterdam to do some work for a private company there. Jin is an electrician of sort. That's what he studies growing up in Belgium, and his work takes him all sorts of places around Europe, Middle East, doing odd things there for electrical company and such. Also, his oldest brother, Kenji, is a well-known electrician as well, who has traveled all over Europe and the Middle East as well, setting up electrical fuses and electrical towers at places that hired him for his expertise. We got our luggage, threw them in Jin's BMW's trunk and Jin's BMW 750's trunk, and we left Belgium for the next few days. Once we were ready, we drove with Jin and Shia toward Amsterdam. They took us, and we coasted along several freeways before hitting the Autobahn. There, there were no speed limit on this stretch of highway in Europe. You can drive as fast as you want. The European Autobahn had a very low percentage of tragic auto accidents. The drive from Belgium to Amsterdam took several hours, about 3 hours or so, and it was about a little less. It's a little less miles than the trip from Cherry Pineapple Grove, California to Las Vegas, Nevada. I figured it was about a few hundred miles longer since Jin was driving really fast. He drove safely though. We left Belgium around that afternoon around 1700 and arrived to Amsterdam and hotel around 2200 that evening. Jin took us Jin checked us all in, and he got me and Delia our own bedroom, where he and Chia had a separate bedroom down the hall of this nice economy hotel that was we all were staying there that night. That night, Jin had to go do his work at the electrical company that he had hired him. He was going to be out practically the whole night unless he's finished early, so he left Chia and to entertain us for the rest of the night. Chia, being pregnant and lonesome in her own room, came to our room and hung around with us for the next few hours. Delia and I had just got done showering together before she had arrived to our room. While she and I were in the hotel shower, we made love and fucked each other underneath the waterfall of rushing warm water from above. We soaked and soaped each other all over with body soap and shampoo, fucked each other's brains out in the wet, steamy atmosphere. We made love in every which way we knew how, in the way of the wild animals, sucking, biting, and clawing at each other. I ejaculated several times in and all over Delilah in the shower, with our sweet sweat constantly being washed away from the warm rushing water. Our steam-up body were exhausted from the heavy pounding of each other energies and forces. Once we both climaxed, we kissed and warmly embraced each other under the showerhead, while it washed our sins away from our heinous, heathenish lusts. After we have exhausted ourselves of our perversion, we toweled each other dry, and after getting dressed in our pajama, we were visited by Chia. Chia came to our room to hang out, since she was lonely back at her room and had no one to talk to. She had called us first before coming to our room, making sure that we were there, so we knew she was coming from down the hall. So that night, Delilah and I taught Chia how to play several card games. We taught her how to play Poison, 13 cards, Speed, and Matching. All the card games that Delilah and I usually played and often played when were bored and not fucking. We spent the next few hours playing various card games until Chia had grown tired and her impregnated belly was making her uncomfortable while long sitting on the chair playing card with us. She then parted way for the night from us and went to lie down on her bed back at her own room several doors down. We said good night. Delilah gave her a warm embrace and she left us. We called her room to make sure she had made it back to her place, and once that was confirmed, Delilah and I once again made love in the way we knew how. We ripped and tore at each other until we both fell fast asleep. Still staying and soaking in each other's fluids and discharges, we slept cozily that night, attached to one another as though we would both become one. The next morning we were awoken by the phone ring. Had called us to invite us to breakfast in the hotel's dining room. We took several minutes to prepare ourselves, and then we walked down several flights downstairs to the dining area. Once in, we each ordered the breakfast buffet where it was self-serve. We each got our own plate and tray and dined at the same table. With our juices and food in hand, we talked and chit-chat. Chin asked us what Delilah and I did last night. We told him of Chia's visit and several hours of card games playing that we did. We didn't bother to mention that we were all fucking, and we were all the fucking that Delilah and I was doing during the night too. After a good meal and some laugh, I offered to pay for the meal, and we went back to our room and gathered our belongings and loaded up in the German-made vehicle while Jin checked us out of the hotel. Once everything was ready and packed, we drove onward into the main street of Amsterdam. Jin wanted to show us around in Amsterdam there and take us to shopping and malls. Delilah was delighted that she heard of the shopping and mall. She wanted to look for more doll dresses in outfit store. That's the kind of girl she is. Amsterdam looked quite pleasant during the day. There were some graffiti and such, but not as the type of tag in Los Angeles and Chicago area and New York. And Amsterdam was visited by many tourists too during the day. Everyone shopping and patronizing the local business there. We walked about the area for several long hours. We visited several food and dining areas. We went to KFC and got some chicken fingers, and we went to a small Thai dive to get some spicy Asian chicken and rice dishes. We visited several souvenir shops and bought some trinkets, whatnot. Delilah bought several items for her mom and her friends back home, so she said. Beside the nice mall and shopping center we saw in the business district of Amsterdam, we also visited the several marijuana cafe they had there. They were all over the place there. There were the thousands of them. There were thousands of coffee shops. Any kind of pots and every type of pot from all over the world was sold here. They sold pipes, bongs, and all sorts of marijuana paraphernalia from t-shirt to condoms made from hemp and such. They were like cafe. Besides selling pot, they had food and beverages made from the marijuana plant and hemp and such, and even sold clothing and other useful items made from the hemp plant. Besides the legal sale of marijuana and the prostitution was legal there as well, there were actually daywalkers dressed in their skin-tight attire and deliberately showing what they had to offer. Some stood at corner topless, and some were posted in and behind glass window shopping for men who needs the company of women and whatnot. We had all sorts of races there to pick from. They were prostitutes from women from all over the world. There was your flavor and that what was your flavor and what they have to what was your flavor, and that's what they had. Of course, there were men prostitution there as well. We just didn't see too many of them around. Besides and around the women who were selling their bodily goods, there were also large men, some in suits like bouncers and security type, to keep and maintain things in order at various brothels. We walked, ate, shopped, and took lots of pictures in that and around the city of Amsterdam for the rest of the day until nightfall. We visited parks and recreation areas for family and tourists. We even visited the Anne Frank House, a museum with a story. This was where Anne Frank and several other refugees hid from the atrocity of Hitler's regime, and this is where Anne Frank wrote her ever popular diary during World War II. It was a nicely update for visitors and tourists. They had restored some of the old stuff that was left behind. We took a tour of the place and also saw some attraction at the local parks. All these places we had visited in Amsterdam, Netherlands, we took picture of. And some places where we weren't allowed to take picture of course, like the prostitute and brothel who were out and about the city. That was a big no-no to take pictures of them. Once darkness fell, the crazy free for all nightlife of Amsterdam came on. Neon glows of flickering light were all over. The window where the half-naked women stood lit up like beacons, signaling that they were ready for business. It was quite amazing how the legalization of marijuana and prostitution was run and managed there. The prostitution and pot shop paid their taxes, and the prostitutes all get monthly tests of various STDs and HIVs, AIDS, disease, and all was regulated by the city's government. That was good. Brings in the revenue. Pots and hashes were allowed to be bought and purchased there in Amsterdam, but need to be smoked and used within the city limits. It wasn't allowed to be used outside the designated area and not allowed to be taken overseas, whatnot, out of the country, of course. While we walked about the area, looking and gawking at the beautiful display, the scenery of half-nude women, debaucheries, and smoke-filled pots of cafe, we carefully watched our step. We were all side by side, almost in step at time. She and Delia were squeezed between Jin and I. And after we got our fill of sins and nightlife in Amsterdam, we walked back to Jin's car and drove off toward Paris, France, that night. Thank you for listening. This is the end of chapter 143. Be on the lookout for chapter 144, titled Down and Dirty in Paris. This is Do, Ra, me, and I'll see you later. Thank you.